My name is Nkunda Felix. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono.
It's glory for Uganda for the first time in history.
Anything in sports, join me.
Wake up to Good Morning Uganda, weekdays on UBC.
Live from Nile Avenue in UBC Studios, this is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite shows.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
That at least one common commodity that is there for every mankind, be it the highest or the smallest. And if you want to give examples of most probably supreme people in the world, you can talk about the President of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and probably the poorest person in your community. The common value that they all share, as a matter of fact, is time. And guess what? It is the time for us to come here and give you our normal program lineup on Good Morning Uganda on UBC. Now, today being the 15th day of July 2021, we do come to you as sound and of course robust. Now, my colleague Robert did mention something much that it happened in South Africa that has caused a bit of mayhem in the studio, and quite a couple of questions do linger in our minds about what's happening in South Africa. That's one of the stories we'll be doing later on, of course, in international stories, and probably we shall have a small discussion. I saw some photos of whites also looting, and I was wondering, why doesn't the news ever show these things? But all of those is what you'll be getting as we will proceed in our program. But something again I want to bring to Robert before I even say good morning. But anyway, good morning, Robert.
A lovely morning to you, Felix Nkunda, and
how
of
are
course everybody that has woken up with us on UBC TV. This is a brand new day, and every day has an opportunity for you, if you have a positive mindset, to be an achiever. So it is your mindset that will determine how high you're going to go throughout that day, because there's a blessing in every situation. Morning, Nkunda.
Well, of course, so much is happening, Robert, and clearly in Uganda, but also outside at the spectrums of this border. But something interesting is that people last week were all up about the Nabanja Fund, or normally they have dubbed it Nabanja Fund, but it's like COVID Relief Fund. Have you had any people who have got this money in your area? And you guys, as one of the local leaders, would you get anything of this money?
Well, I'm also still puzzled, because in my area, much as I was among the people that verified the list, made a few amendments. None of the people that I seconded or came through the list has so far received the money. But there is something that the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, while she was addressing the press at the Uganda Media Center, she said there are about 1,500 names of people where the data was not matching, so those may be excluded. So I don't know if they're among those, or yesterday they were saying they're going to talk to the Prime Minister to have an extension. That means there are people, maybe they're still typing, putting in data, matching data, but later on they'll receive this money. But as of now, I know none in my community that has received this money. And
that, of course, causes a lot of questions for our people in different communities, and the expectations are in the same realm. Nevertheless, we're here to do what we do best. But another question, Robert. There's this whole thing of fallacy about women, now that it's just you and me, and probably Priscilla, when she comes, she'll also be able to answer that. There's this whole thing about women. Would you declare your earnings to your wife totally or fully? Can she, like, to give her to control issues of finances? Like, what I'm trying to say is that you get your salary, like she gets the whole money and plans for the family, and you inclusive.
Well, one of the things I grew up seeing in my parents' home was doing life together, how it was a safeguard. If your partner, I don't want to say wife, because some people would say you must be married and you've gone through church. If your partner knows how much you earn and you plan together, because I want to believe if your wife knows your salary, men have other sources of earning, but does she know the salary? This is one. She'll appreciate the little you get and how you plan for it effectively than her assuming this man gets more money and either spends it on booze, other women, or his family. So if you get about 1.5 take home maybe, and she knows that at the end of the month maybe rent is taking 500, she knows then food and all this takes this, then you tell her this is what we've saved. I believe as a man you could be having other sources she may not know, but the main source of earning that she can hold you accountable should also advise. You see, I've learned that women are better home managers and they know how best to plan out of scarcity. Give a woman little money, she knows how to get what her priorities. And sometimes us men, we may miss out on priorities because you think tomorrow I'm going to get more money, that's how your rent is going to accrue. So when the lady is involved, she'll give you better ways of getting priorities. She will tell you, let's first pay school fees. Maybe this time let's first pay rent. And when things are not moving on well, because we plan together, so we are in this together, we have to walk out of it together.
There's a lot of together in Kirabo's submission, and I clearly also got lost at some together. But truth is, it's a good thing to have what you call economic communion in a family, and it saves a lot, trust me. It's good for your spouse or partner, as Kirabo calls them, to know how much you earn. Probably that also will inform how much they can demand from you. It's a good trick. Let her control the money. I guess she won't be asking because she knows how much you earn. So she can't be asking for some things that are outrageous. But that doesn't guarantee that. I know women.
But you know, Felix, there are families, a woman will tell you, I don't know when my husband has money or he doesn't. Every day he's crying, I don't have. You know, and a family, the woman would say, I don't even where this guy spends his money. So if you're involved and you know, yes, last time we had a date with rent, this time you're clearing rent. Last time we are paying a plot maybe in installments, this time so you're not going to blame me for what we've not done, yet we are working things out together. Any misappropriation, we did it together. Any lack of prioritizing anything, we did it together. So at the end of the day, I think it solves. And in this time of COVID-19, that is why we are seeing a lot of gender-based violence or domestic violence, if I may call it that way. Because sometimes the wife thinks, this man is having money. Yeah, I know. He gets good salary. He's still having money. He's saved, yet he doesn't have. But if the wife knows that the little we had, we broke it down this way, he doesn't have, she just lies low like an envelope, and life moves on.
Well, of course, you can also leave us your comment on our social media platforms, that is on Facebook, on Twitter, but also you can catch us live streaming on YouTube. But of course, After this, Dan Robert would want to give us a glimpse in what did trade yesterday in terms of news, and of course later on we'll also dive into international stories.
Well, talking about what made news, the Nabanja money, like Felix has called it, dominated affairs in the August House yesterday as people were demanding for accountability and to know how best these monies were spent. Now, government has denied claims by some political actors of most beneficiaries of the COVID-19 Relief Fund affiliated to the ruling National Resistance Movement. Minister for Information, Communications Technology and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, said all mistakes in the beneficiaries list were corrected. This was during yesterday's afternoon parliamentary sitting where the Prime Minister Robert Nabanja was tasked to present a detailed statement on managing the COVID-19 Relief Fund next week. This was one of the most piercing yet unconfirmed reports from the opposition regarding COVID-19 Relief Fund. The concerns coming in at a time when the Prime Minister Robert Nabanja was meant to present a detailed explanation regarding the same. It was, however, pushed to Wednesday next week as guided by the day's session chair, also Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Moving to Gulu, still on COVID-19 Relief Fund, codenamed Nabanja Money, a section of beneficiaries from COVID-19 Relief Fund in Gulu City have urged government to add them more relief aid, arguing that what was given is too little. Simon Okello, a border rider, who has spent the money on only buying foodstuff, kilos of posho, beans and cooking oil, said the money was not enough because he could not even buy charcoal that he would use to cook what he had bought. Money is also breeding hatred among the border riders, as those that received the money are being isolated by their colleagues that never received a penny under the relief fund. Sitting at his home in Lalo Pace Division, Simon Okello showed us the 25-kilo sack of maize flour and 10 kilograms and 5 liters of cooking oil that he bought using the COVID-19 money that was sent on his phone on Monday, the 12th of July this year. He acknowledged that this is timely support from the government of Uganda, but the people are desperate and need more financial support. He is currently staying alone in his grass-thatched house that he rents at 20,000 per month, as he sent his wife and mother to the village in order to lessen the burden on him buying for them food. At the Jukdera border stage, Emi Ochon, a border rider and chairperson of the riders at Badej Labai division, called on government to continue registering people for the fund, saying more people need money and are waiting upon government to bail them through this trying moment. Away from the COVID relief cash, we now move to affairs regarding security and the legal fraternity, where Muslim lawyers under their umbrella organization, the Uganda Muslim Lawyers Association, want security operatives to tell the public the intention of killing the alleged key suspects in the attempted assassination of General Edward Katumba Wamala and the murder of his daughter Brenda Nantongo and the driver Haruna Kayondo. They also accused the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Major General Paul Okech, for uttering statements aiming at creating hatred within the Muslim fraternity, which they said may lead Ugandans to doom of justice towards Muslims. The lawyers communicated this during a press conference held at Hotel Africana in Kampala. On several occasions, Muslim fundamentalists have been associated with the murders and assassinations of key political and high-ranking security officials in the country. In an attempted assassination of General Katumba Edward Wamala and the murder of his daughter Brenda Nantongo and driver Haruna Kayondo, 8 Muslim suspects were paraded in courts of law for plea taking at Nakawa Grade 1 Magistrate. We now move to the tourism sector, which is also struggling, though it was late to operate, where private players in this industry are calling upon government to increase her investment in tourism sector. In a wake of the second wave of COVID-19, government nearly closed all other sectors that work along with the tourism sector to control the spread of COVID-19. However, the tourism sector remained among the priority sectors running, but the questions are tourists coming in as earlier they were doing, because currently the sector is struggling. Before the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, tourism was one of the leading earners of foreign revenue to Uganda. However, when the country experienced the first lockdown in March last year, it registered a loss of $1.6 billion in the financial year 2019-2020. Now, that is the managing director of Renzori Trekkers Services Limited, John Hook, said the tourism sector is operating in difficulty because most of the areas that attract tourists in this country are now closed, and therefore very few tourists are coming into the country. He called upon government to increase funding and ensure this sector can smoothly survive the challenges being caused by COVID-19 in various sectors. Well, those are some of the stories that were in our news bulletins. In case you missed, we've selected a few for you as we kickstart your day. But Felix is ready to take us through international stories.
International stories, we will be looking at Afghanistan, where we see US to evacuate endangered translators. Now, the United States is set to begin evacuation of Afghanistan interpreters who assisted the US-led forces during the conflict and are deemed to be at risk. Now, operations Allies refugees get to start during the last week of July, and the White House came out to make such mention. Now, it comes as US withdrew its forces from Afghanistan ahead of an 11 September deadline set by the President Joe Biden. Now, in recent weeks, the Taliban have made rapid advances across the country, and these are contagious and, of course, attacking particular individuals who want to make sure we recognize and value the role they have played over the last several years. An official speaking on condition of anonymity told the Reuters news agency that the initial evacuation will include about 2,500 people who are likely to be housed in military facilities either in the US or a third country while their visa applications are being processed. Now, still looking at international stories, we're looking at Argentina does come out to make breach of 1,100 COVID deaths amid deepening crisis. Now, Argentina has become the 5th country in Latin America to surpass 100,000 deaths linked to COVID-19 as the country suffers a surge in coronavirus cases that have strained its healthcare network and worsened already dire economic crisis. Now, on Wednesday, Argentina Health Ministry said that the country registered 614 new deaths during the last 24 hours. It has now reported at least 1,250 coronavirus cases and 4.7 million cases since the pandemic began. According to Johns Hopkins University data, Argentina has been one of the hardest hit countries in Latin America, but daily average cases have fallen since a peak last month, and ICU beds occupancy is coming down. Although still above 60% nationwide, the head of the Pan-American Health Organization, Carissa Entiena, warned on Wednesday that the infections are once again mounting in the country. However, now back to Africa, where we see ex-DRC PM Matata placed under house arrest for embezzlement. Now, former Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Austin Matata Mponyo, has been placed under house arrest by the country's constitutional court pending an investigation into embezzlement charges, according to judicial sources and Matata's lawyer. Now, in May, prosecutors asked Parliament to lift an immunity granted to Matata in his new role as a senator so that he could face probe for alleged corruption. At the time, Senate voted against lifting the immunity, saying that the Constitutional Court, which made the request, was not empowered to try a parliamentarian. For criminal proceedings in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Senator came under the jurisdiction of the Court of Secession. Now, but only July 5th, 6 members of the Senate office agreed to a demand by the prosecutor of the Constitutional Court to remove Matata's parliamentary immunity. And Matata was Minister of Finance and then Prime Minister until 2016. And Wednesday responded he came to make response and he was held to be in his house until such investigations will be done. Well, that and more is what is on international scene. Of course, for some of you who are following international stories, you'll also take keen interest to note that much is happening in South Africa and elsewhere. Of course, what's happening in the Tigray region, that is Ethiopia, and where we see the TPLF also trying to take stance of the southern part of Ethiopia. Well, of course, we'll also be back here to give you more of the stories that are trending, also leaving you with a song for the day. But later on, Kirabo will be taking us through his GMU agenda. Ruben will come to give us sports, and we'll have more on weather there, but also a bit of the traffic. Let's take a break, have our song for the day, and we'll be back to give you
radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Therefore, understanding this mode. Excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning once again, and thank you so much for keeping it on UBC TV. This is Good Morning Uganda. Make it a date every weekday from 6:30. We are here to kickstart your day by giving you relevant information you need, a bit of some jokes, some bit of entertainment with our song of the day, just to spice up your morning. Now, today we had a song that is by Elgon, and that is Beautiful. And my colleague usually asks me a number of questions, and this time I want to do the same. Felix, what is beauty to you?
Well, in which respect?
What do you consider in terms of ladies, women?
In terms of, well, beauty is, of course, you look at appearance, because beautiful cannot be attributed to anything else. It must be in terms of appearance. That's what the grammatical sense of it. So a woman who looks appealing to my eyes will be beautiful.
Well, there is this common saying that beauty lies in the hands of the beholder. Do you believe in that?
No, beautiful is beautiful. I think that whole notion of saying the hands of the beholder, beauty is beauty. It must be. It must have an element of commonality. It can't be specific. You can't say that you're the only one who sees the beauty of a woman. Yeah, there must be an element of commonality. Yeah, if someone is beautiful, they are actually beautiful, and it must be noticeable beyond you just.
If you can all say that Felix's wife, she's actually beautiful.
Definitely.
It's not about explanation. You see my wife, she's a professor. You see my wife, she comes from. You see my wife,
she's different things. Those cards you can pull them up when you're talking about professionalism.
A fair package because she has this, that, and at the end of the day, it all sums up to her being beautiful.
No. Beauty must have an element of commonality, that it must go a bit beyond you for appreciation. Yeah, and you know that there are things that at least generally the community has accepted that, you know what, this person is good. Now you cannot come and say, my
partner, she's very beautiful. We must be able to.
However, on the other side, it's irrelevant to discuss beauty in terms of
appearance.
Beauty must have that element. Honestly, painfully, it is a painful truth. You can't talk about beauty and not talk about appearance or outlook or what. But when it comes to individuals, it cannot be the only yardstick for us to relate with people. Maybe I can say that to try and try to balance the equation, that it cannot be, beauty can't be the only yardstick for us to relate with people, and at any level, in terms of friendship, in terms of partners, or any sort of relationship. I think it's not enough. That's why you have seen that people have most recent, it has lost validity to be beautiful. It is as good as useless, because it must be accompanied with very many other
just reminding me in this beauty contest where you will see that the most looking in terms of pretty appearance does not win
as
the
you
contest.
said. Well, because probably the organizers are looking for something beyond just beauty, and every man also out there is looking for something beyond beauty, because it's not good enough to be beautiful and you can't cook, you can't raise a family, you can't keep a family together, you don't have financial literacy. So that's why it brings you back to the other thing, what you're talking about, that a man will tell you, no, my wife is full package. In as much as you don't see this other beauty, there is the financial beauty, there is the family beauty, and also most recent men have added the bedroom beauty.
One of my friends told
they are what we call, we have and normally in our discussions talk about, we have choir masters, we have soprano,
I don't
tenor.
That is fun.
Bass.
Let's put that for another show. But why I brought that, yesterday I had an argument with one of my friends. He got a terrible accident. That is Isma Kabogoza. He's in Chibuli. We are praying for you. He was hit by a drunkard at midday. This guy was drunk 100% and was driving a car. When they put a breathalyzer on him, it was him with his dad and some woman almost naked in the car. So he was hit.
Why do you have to say that?
Because
how did that
you know why I say that?
Drinking?
When we rushed at the scene, there was mob justice. So we wanted to get the lady out of the car, but she was saying, so that I can wrap around myself.
Anyway.
So we had an argument, and he told me, Robert, I think you've seen, my wife has a beautiful heart. Leave everything, my wife has a beautiful heart. So, okay, beautiful heart. Well, it is time for our news real story, and this morning we are looking at also another area, that is child labor, that is on an increase, where police made a raid, that is in Uganda district, and by end of the operation they had arrested 20 street vending children, and they were tracing their parents to ensure they hold them accountable, because these children are engaging in child labor. And this is where again I want to ask Felix, because Felix has already said that I think we are missing a point sometime when you push for children rights and issues of labor. What is child labor, Felix?
Well, I think if you want to dissect the notion of child labor, it's basically loading children with work that is beyond the weight of their shoulders. Okay? Work is okay, but the work you're loading them with is beyond what they can carry on their shoulders. If I could just put it in simple context, and I can give you an example. There are things a child can do and must do, if I may add. Domestic work, they must do. Simple work, Even if it is a bit financial, they have limits. But you can imagine a child, being sent to Kampala, let's say from Namuongo, on a daily, with maybe a wheelbarrow of something, matoki and what. So as long as a context of the viewer or the person making assessment, the kind of work the child is doing is beyond what they can carry, given their age.
Now, these children were arrested selling masks, vegetables, roasted maize, sweet bananas, among others. But a report by WUBOS, and that is the Uganda Bureau of Statistics and Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, carried out in 2018, indicated that over 1,500 children were living on the streets in Kampala or in various cities. This is a huge number. And child labor, to them, they define it as something that is hazardous and dangerous to a child's well-being. Felix, child labor, day by day, reports indicate that at least 7 out of 10 children in our country have been exposed to one form of child labor. And parents find it normal to stay home, give these children maize, sweet bananas, go sell, come back with money.
Well, of course, you see, you may not be in position to look at these child labor stories in isolation of the ultimate situation of a country. And if I may want to put before the word country, a third world country. This is not unique to third world countries. You will see this even when you go to Argentina. I've been privileged to have some, you see them. Even when I was in the developed countries, children are meant to do work, even if it's financial. And by the way, I remember as a child in church, we used to have a church-affiliated association called the Focolare Movement. It is under the Legion of Mary. And we would have interface with children all over the world. Now, these kids would go and work to send support to help Ugandan kids. Kids in Germany, in Italy, in Philippines, in Australia, they would go and work. They would go and vend these sweets, they would go and paint in town and what, to have money which they sent to help some of us and other kids who are in Uganda. And that's why I'm saying that, you see, we must not look at child labor in total isolation of the general state of this country. And what is the general state of the country? That over 70% of Ugandans live in abject poverty, if I may put that. Now, the determinants of life for a poor person are not like what we call, cannot be on a straight line. You get it? Because a poor person has a number of elements, and one among them is desperacy. They are desperate. Secondly, they are the kind of people we look at who are needy. Third, they are the kind of people who are idle. Now, and so many others. Now, once a person is any of those, imagine if someone is desperate. They will
take on anything.
Yes, they will use whatever is within their means to stay alive. And what is within their means?
Their children.
Their children. I'll tell you, if today, Robert, you went to a street and you found 3 people selling, and I want to give you an example. One, you found an old woman who's the age of your grandmother selling masks. You found a man of your age selling masks, and a child of about 7 selling masks. Who would you think of buying from first?
Well, I would think of buying from a man, because I know what he's getting. He has a list of people to benefit from this.
Now you are one of the most heartless man I've ever seen. There's no way, and you know you're lying, Robert.
I'm not lying.
Can't.
I'm not lying, because
psychologically, let me tell you, Robert.
But you asked me for that is my choice.
Okay,
Felix.
that's what I'm saying. Your choice is very heartless.
That is also relative. That is also relative.
But
because for me, I'm looking at this
psychologically,
man so frustrated, and
let me tell you.
Coming from
do you know why they send those kids to sell? Because the adults don't sell. They don't buy from them. It is psychological. And I want you to try it. The reason why I put a very old woman, your age mate, and a child.
Buy from an old woman. Let the kids look after.
Now you can hear such a thing. But every person, and this is psychological, the sympathy will go for an infant. Even if you're not going to buy. I always drive around Rugogo, the lights there, and here, is it yard? Those kids will come. Even one day they used to be there. They would tell you, Uncle, I'm no saga. And then the kid would say, then he breaks from. How can you not buy the whole chiwago? Now, I don't know if they are trained that, or it is actually them being kids or smart, but that's for them. But the point I'm trying to drive is that above and beyond all the other things, the people who use these kids have mastered the art of the country. You get it? And these kids have also become street smart. And they're making money that parents cannot make.
If they did the same job.
We've been in lockdown for the last 1 year or and a half. Do you know that it is these kids who are feeding their families? Do you know that? Let's imagine if the mother was working in a restaurant as a waitress.
And she's no longer earning.
But this kid has been going to the street every day to sell masks and comes back with 5,000. Who's more important in the house today?
Now the kid is the breadwinner because the mother would be in this chikumi getting 3,000 maybe.
That's why I'm saying you cannot look at the situation of child labor in the context of the story of the people in Uganda in isolation of the general status or the stance of the country.
Felix, I agree with you.
Just one moment, Robert. That the remedy to this is not pulling these kids off the street. Because as a matter of fact, Robert, today, out of many of these kids, and the more reasons why you should even buy from them when you meet them, you viewers, because now they are the breadwinners. Their fathers are the taxi drivers, their fathers are the conductors, are these people who solicit people to get in the taxis. Their mothers are the people they chased off the streets, the people who sweep the arcades, who mop in the arcades, who move with food. These are their mothers. And they have been home. Some of them were chased from work. Now, it is only the kids. When you look at them, these now are the breadwinners, as you call it. These are the people carrying their families.
Felix, I don't want to sound insensitive to actually the facts you're putting on table. But I also want to look beyond reality. There are certain things that happen in society because we have allowed them to be. We have allowed them to be. If we have allowed children to be hawkers and to be vendors and we are buying from them, when the adults come and we don't give them an opportunity because we know a kid is going to sell this cheaper or something, this is work that is dangerous to these kids. Many of these kids have been knocked and maybe now they can no longer walk. Some, as they are running, yet an adult would be mindful of their vehicles. So some of these kids have been knocked. Some girls have been raped. Some have lost their future because of some crafty men who will buy maybe a banana and tomorrow. So we are in a disguise of making money. We are killing the next generation because we accepted this to be.
Do you know how many people are raped in communities?
I don't have
vis-a-vis the ones raped on roads. How many do you know have been raped on roads?
But we can't justify statistics to justify something that is.
What do you want to use to justify?
Because if, yes, this is happening in society, then we shouldn't let it happen in another area because, it happened somewhere else.
I am simply alluding to the statement you made, that we cannot let this go because they will be knocked, they will be. I think maybe you also missed my point at the inception. I said, and I want to say again with emphasis, these are, for example, when you have a fever, or you have malaria, let me use. Earlier as children, they used to tell us, my grandmother and my parents used to tell us always, wawulira ng'ennyingo zikuluma, ng'amaaso bw'otemya gakuluma, nga owulira fever. You know, here we know that a bugumu, fever, you know, temperature.
When your temperature is high, yes.
It is a symptom of
fever.
And that could be malaria. You get it? Now, when someone has a high temperature and you bring a cold cloth, in the neck, and the temperature goes down, they are not cured of what? of malaria. Maybe you take them to hospital, they take blood samples, they test their blood, and they can prescribe. Now, what you're talking about, these kids, it is an indication. Kirabo, if parents were able to fend for their kids, Kirabo, you cannot let your child go to the street. Between you and me, you're a
Very
parent.
true, yes.
You wouldn't. But by the time, do you think the things you're talking about, the parents of these kids don't think about them? They do. And they're also worried maybe at home, when is she coming back who took the mangoes? This is the pain.
With you, but
this is the pain. But
I also want to just give you a bit of information regarding. Just take my information regarding this. Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development carried out a study that was in 2019, and they realized that there are parents in northern Uganda that give their children to friends to bring them to town because they know they are going to beg or they are going to do these simple things and take money back home. I think that this had become a lucrative business.
I know of that, but that's an isolated matter. And even I think in as much as it is true, and me and you have discussed this in terms of how effective we make the region in balance in the 20, 30 years to come. But that is a bit isolated. We acknowledge that problem is there. But we are talking about a general problem, Kirabo. Okay? The kids you see selling, those are beggars. We are talking about child labor. Those are kids, street kids. We know them. But talking about these kids who wake up to sell sponges, masks. These are kids from Namuwongo. They are kids from Chibuli, from Naguru. We know these kids. And we interact with them. One time I was leaving office at Very Small at about 11 p.m. and the kid is walking with maize. About 9, 10 years.
Now you're identifying that danger.
Now I'm asking
this is exposing
Then it's like, so I cannot go back without having at least sold 3/4 of this. Why? Jaja, smaibichi, baja to go. Now, Kirabo, we must acknowledge that is not the problem. The problem is bigger. Let me ask a question. What is the general government plan towards remedy of such issues? I've told you, these kids you see, none of them belongs to a civil servant. None. But you're going to, if you trace back, you're going to find the father was a conductor, was what? The mother was a food vendor. I don't know if there are vendors also, food or hawkers in town. So, but they are totally down. By the way, between you and me, these numbers have only increased in COVID times. Previously, there were people, these things.
But even in 2018, the research shows that there were over 1,500 in Kampala, Jinja, and Mbale.
As I've said, the numbers have
increased.
There
have been an increase, but this has
because of
COVID-19.
And secondly, they are not going to school. What is the government plan?
So let's look at the government interventions in the remaining few minutes of this segment. Talking about education, government put universal primary education that all those that are school going should go to. We've seen government come up with a number of initiatives.
Like?
We've had, that is the Youth Livelihood
for children?
No, I'm talking about parents now, not for children. For children, education has been catered for. And the president was continuously said that, you see, I came up with this idea to ensure that kids of the most vulnerable at least attain education. So you choose not to take your child in a universal primary school because maybe you think services are not that, but then you resort them.
And the others, you're saying? Which other?
Then for the parents, we've seen this issue of women coming together in various groups and government injecting money in their credit savings and cooperatives. We've also seen a couple of initiatives aimed at empowering these local communities, the vulnerable in society.
Which ones?
I'm mentioning them.
Those are two Kirabo. You talked about women coming in their groups at government, what does what?
Yeah. We've seen the presidential initiative on the girl child, where even mothers come and they are getting skills and they are given money. And
how many pods did it cover? I think, you see, these things you must be in full context to avoid insulting people who are victims of such stories. How much has it done? We must stop this business of handouts. And this has been the ultimate state cry for all of us. Let us agree to have a standardized way of life for everyone. For example, Kirabo, look at the housing policy in this country. Look at the housing policy. You've been to these communities, you know. What is the policy in terms of housing for the government? We are talking about these people, the what we call the informal sector. What is government policy? Away from the handouts, meet and we give you. What has it yielded anything? Okay, on a spectrum of 100, how much has it yielded? Because the government has been doing it for the last 10 years in different forms.
Various forms.
But
from
an assessment. Yes. On a spectrum of 100, what is the effect?
You may not get a 70%.
It's not even above 30, let's be honest. But can we think of these people with something permanent? Kirabo, today, the government came out to say it is giving out money. Between you and me, you know what is happening with these things of money.
You wait for the Prime Minister, that is next Wednesday, to come up with a conclusive report on the progress. But so far, there is so much that really may not be clear to the public, also regarding how these lists came up, or how they were able to get there.
You know, let me say this lastly, Robert, for me about the story. We acknowledge we have careless parenting. That is as a result of 3 or 4 things. One, their background, also society, but also the financial situations. But that is the smallest number. I believe there's no parent who is sane who would love to see their child run on the streets amidst cars selling whatever. I don't know what they say, bananas, what maize selling, running through cars. I don't think Kirabo would be at home comfortable as a responsible parent. And those are the many. Now, these are indicators of a big problem that has not been addressed by our government. And I want to say this categorically: Parliament has equally done us a big disservice in its own self, because it has failed to generate policy or to generate proper guidance in terms of remedy. That is not child labor. That is an indicator that our societies are doing terribly bad. And all institutions must do something about it.
Well, I'll crown it all by saying, let's have children by choice and not by chance. And also, I call upon our government. Yes, some countries at some point came up with a child policy. China is one of these countries, because a good population is very good. A big population is very good only if it is productive. As a parent, as a young girl, as a young lad, before you think of anything that can turn out as a reality being a human being, please, let's rethink. Let's have children that you can really care about. And of course, we urge government, like Felix said, as we move towards that, let's also ensure that we have practical solutions to some of these problems that see our children on the streets of this country, exposing them to so much.
The thinking, Kirabo, you're talking about, it only stops before the two people meet. When they meet, the thinking stops. So what you're saying, think. You will never think when they're undressing. The thinking comes back when they have tested.
That's why we are going to have more of these children.
But Uganda's population, it is still small. It is not worrying. It is just about our...
We need a quality population, not
and you know what makes quality population? Government policies.
And also selection, that people look at the capacity. I've seen a couple of, Felix,
I have no
seen
problem.
rich
In
families,
fact, I am
people that are able.
I'm
not an advocate of many children, because I've seen what would call as class A families having very few people, and they're poor.
By the way, let me give you information. Kids, and for all of you parents out there, stop saying it is your children who have made you fail to do what. That is your problem. Stop making the kids no.
If you didn't
Once you give birth to kids, that responsibility, start thinking like the number of the kids you have. Me, I have no problem with giving birth. In fact, some of us here in Uganda, children is a big families are wealthy.
Well, I choose to disagree, and we choose
to be with your one. For us, we are.
I'm an advocate of children by choice and not by chance. And I believe we need a huge population, but quiet population, and begins with the two of you that unite to bring a human being on earth. When we return, yes, you come together and you bring problems to government. Then you later raise your arms that government, where are you? Where's government there when the two of you are making these decisions? Let's be very conscious before we take such a decision. Let's return with press review. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Echa COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear masks properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
Therefore, understanding this model. Hey, excuse me, lady. Who do you think you are? A queen?
Hey, haven't you heard? Get Airtel Chillax bundles and browse like a queen.
Get Airtel Chillax bundles that do not expire and browse like a queen or king. Dial *175# or use My Airtel app. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Sure, we spice up your morning, give you relevant information, take you all around the globe. These are some of the reasons why you should never miss this morning show. Good Morning Uganda, every weekday actually. From 6 we are here. We begin with local and international stories. We have our newsreel story where Felix has just advocated for a huge population, and I'm saying no, we will not push for that. We need to think before we bring new creatures on earth. But anyway, it's time we look at what is trending in the print media. I have the New Vision and a very big headline there. That is Lamwaka, who is brain behind COVID remedy. That is Gulu University researcher to meet President Museveni. COVID might attack our wrong country because maybe by closure of this year, we might have 1,000 remedies on market as Ugandans. Still in the New Vision, we look at Mulago Oxygen Plant running. That is the newly installed oxygen plant at Mulago Hospital has started operation to wrap up supply. That is those supplies of the country's oxygen. They also give you a report of how a journalist defeated, that is COVID-19. And still a chimpanzee tested for COVID-19. A picture of a chimpanzee there being tested. Don't know if they put that also in the nose and mouth. Well, here we look at the education column, Senior 2 and Senior 4 work. We have ICT, English, Physics, Mathematics, and Entrepreneurship for you in the New Vision today. Yes.
Vaccines only way out of COVID trap, experts come out to say, and health experts and civil society activists warn the marooning the population at home through lockdown and without inoculation is unlikely to tame the virus, as infections and deaths are certain to surge once a semblance of normality returns. Now, of course, they give you here in different sequences the effects, but also over 150,000 receive COVID cash.
People getting the money.
MPs fight for GEC committees, and varsity rejects NDA conditions. Now, beating COVID, how Medic rebuked Odoki for not following SOPs, and today in DM, she loves me even when I do not own a car. Really?
What is that?
That's not news anyway. But government to build lake in Karamoja, but also reminding you of some Valentine's. COVID cash beneficiaries theirs give their stories, and today in history, Amin promoted to field marshal. That is 1975, and Twitter comes out to launch. That is in July 2006.
Well, still in the new vision, we look at facts or myth regarding COVID-19. Now there is a question: can I get Pfizer after AstraZeneca vaccine? And who is answering this? This is Emmanuel Ainebiona, Health Ministry spokesperson. We look at COVID-19 statistics, and today new confirmed cases 480. We look at the death, and today, according to the vision, 39 people in this country have succumbed to COVID-19. I think now that death is a bit shooting up. There are total deaths so far, 2,203 people have succumbed to COVID-19 in our lovely country. So please perfect those drills. Do not be part of these statistics. We know what to do, and good enough, it is fairly cheap for you. Symptoms: fever, cough, shortness of breath, sore throat, headache. Seek medical advice. Earlier you get treatment, the better and high chances of recovering from COVID. Know your member of parliament, Davis Kamokama, MP Bunyangabo. Oh, these are the names of this is the name of our director here. But well, people share names. That is the Good Morning Uganda director, Davis Kamokama. Now there's an MP here with the same name. Today in history, we look at Sheikh Sadiq Luwemba Barred, and also it was on this very date, but the year 2006 when Twitter was born.
Now, of course, in sports, Lady Cranes come of age in true style, and Silverback fancy their chances in tricky group there, but also middle distance star Nyonyintono left soul searching. And of course, also new executive lays plans to revive the youth, but Man United, Rashford set to miss 2 months. Now, Katende ruled out of MX season, and Festo Web targets Spain training camp to market Uganda's youth. And Bromel wins men's 100 meters at Getshid last pre-Tokyo game test. USA rebounds from back-to-back losses.
In the new vision sport, today is a Wednesday, and today is Thursday, but there is a very good information regarding women in the world of sports. That is right from the top headline, and usually this is on Wednesday, but it's on Thursday today where they look at women in sports. And Uganda Rugby Cranes, that is Patricia there, again runs into tackle with Zimbabwe player, and Uganda won the encounter 41-0. Kongs to the team. I'll receive KCCA. That is Molebie Kwaso, ready to take on, and they give more regarding super women in the sports of the new vision today.
Well, now, of course, we also take a sneak peek into the Daily Nation, but also for you, we'll be looking at how I killed 13 children, man's shock confession. And Fresh Storm of Ibeako revisits referendum there. But of course, also they give you a picture of that gentleman who made the confession, and many other stories about the same, and of course Ruto, the Jubilee and the Raila coalition. But much of that you will be able to get when you get yourself a copy of the Daily Nation, Daily Monitor, and of course the New Vision.
Felix, I think God is a very merciful God. How do you confess killing 13 innocent souls? You wonder what has happened. Is the moral fabric? Is it child upbringing? Is it misuse of drugs? Where is the world heading to?
Well, it's sad, it's painful, but I mean, it is what it is. We live in such a world. We live in such a world. There are many people who do these things.
For me, I just hope and believe that the death sentence is really made active. If such people are hanged, and maybe even publicity is given to that, this could be deterrent to some extent, because people will know that they'll pay, and pay heavily, to a tune of death in case they carry out such. But sometimes you people with these legal things, then evidence beyond reasonable doubt, then finally life imprisonment. You know, I think this judicial system at times also is a fertile ground for such things to happen in some of our countries in the East African region. But anyway, we'll have the tips, and later we'll have Molen take us through weather. Let's return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
My name is Emmanuel Inebiona. I work as the Senior Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Health. This is a hand washing campaign as we spend our time during these 42 days of lockdown. Washing hands every time always is important, not only to prevent COVID-19, but even other diarrheal diseases. Let's endeavor to always wash hands while we are at home. When you touch surfaces, when you have finished using a toilet, remember to wash your hands at least 5 times a day. Let every visitor coming into your home wash hands. This involves putting a hand washing facility at the gate and ensure that you put even a signage encouraging people to wash hands before they enter your home. This is the only way we shall beat the transmission of COVID-19 and other diseases that normally affect us. And this is going to be important because during this temporary lockdown, we have this limited period to cut on the transmission of COVID-19. Stay safe, stay alive.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, of course, good morning once again, and thank you so much for keeping it here with us on UBC and also following with our discussion and conversation. Now, also make your reactions on our Facebook and, of course, also Twitter, but catch us live on YouTube. We're streaming live. You can reverse, rewind, forward, and pause. But now it's the moment where we give you a few of those traffic tips. Now, for some of you who've been on highways, you do notice that highways are normally made and what we call smooth in terms of driving. Now, the reason why it's called a highway, it's simply because it is not a place where people drive slow. It's a highway. The expectation is that people drive on this at a particular limit of speed. If you've been to the probably express highway, you notice that they give you limit. There are places where they ask you not to drive below 80 kilometers per hour. Others, they'll tell you not below 100 kilometers per hour. Actually, when you go to other jurisdictions or other places or other civilities, like you go to the US, you're in Europe, or others, they even ask you, you can't drive below 180 on particular highways. Now, some of you people who want to be very well disciplined, which is a good thing, please don't bring your discipline on highways. Follow the rules on the highways. If you're supposed to drive at that speed, 80 kilometers per hour, if you drive anything less than that, you are the one now who's going to cause accidents. Now, if you can't drive on highways, do not get yourself on highways. Take note of that and be able to understand what mileage or what a speed is accepted on the various highways. Now, of course, we'll be also talking to Molen Kenyana to give us the tips in terms of weather and nature. I have a question for Molen. I don't know if she's already listening to what I'm asking, but my question is, there's this thing about time. One of my friends, Joy, was asking, time, what happens when some countries drop time? I have witnessed this. UK in particular times, they're ahead of us 3 hours, and I think normally in winter times it is 2 hours. Then when it comes to summer, it is 3 hours. They lose that 1 hour. But then also I think it also happens in the US. They normally lose that 1 hour depending in the season, whether it's winter or actually summer. How does that happen? Good morning, Molen. How are you?
Yes, very good morning to you, Felix. I am doing well. It's a beautiful morning for me. And not to mention that some people are actually still sleeping in some countries. That is the mystery about our time zones across the world. Now, it all happens with the different locations on the globe. Still, the time zones are different. And if you remember in geography, we started learning about Greenwich meridian. So the time zones are actually different depending on the location of a country across the world, but not specifically due to the seasons, like maybe it's a winter or summer, meaning the time is different. No, it is just a fixture depending on how geographically located each area is across the globe. So, for example, you will find that like right now, for us it's morning, but then in the US it's already late in the day, or even China is like 12 hours ahead, or around 12 hours. So it's just the location to which they are aligned in terms of our Greenwich meridian timing. And that's why even for our zoning, we base on that. And it's interesting to note that for us in meteorology, or the weather and climate world, our timing, even when we're reading the time here, because we want to get on a global scale, we read it in what we call UTC. So, for example, we would, for us, we are 3 hours ahead of the Greenwich time. So, which means that if we are reading time in meteorology, it will be like plus 3 hours. But that is the only way we can communicate. For example, when we're communicating to pilots at the airport with air navigation, or when we are communicating with the regional centers, with the World Meteorological Organization, we always read our time adding 3 hours, because we want it to match with international standards of because they're able to relate to that standard of timing, looking at the fact that other areas will be in a different zone. So they are able to just also consider that and add whichever time is added to that standard timing. Well, so yes, Felix, should you want to go to a different country, be prepared for what we call a jet lag. I hope you know 1 or 2 things about that too.
Yeah, clearly, and I guess I also hope to learn much from you in terms of that, because I'll be moving very, very soon. But I've noticed that flower behind you in the vessel. Now, is it a rose flower? I don't know. What kind of flower is that?
Felix, those are roses. I love flowers. I love roses. I am a nature person, so for me it's a given. I surround myself with flowers. And more of the reading, yes, roses are good. And specifically, these ones I love most.
So were they bought, or you bought them?
I bought those. Okay, this is a good hot seat.
Anyway, I'll let you, Molin, take us through the nature and,
Yeah.
of course, give us those updates on how the weather will be looking like. And, of course, Robert later is going to be coming in with the GMU agenda. And Ruben will be here to give you the sports update. Have a nice moment with our viewers, Molin.
Yes, very good morning to you all, our viewers. Yes, we want to talk about nature and weather. And yesterday, I get back of west across the world, and right now all focus from scientists and scientists across the world are looking at how best can we move to a safe environment where we reduce plastic waste. And now we want to really think about it. If we are polluting our environment with plastics, especially the single-use plastics, what does that implicate in terms of our environment? First of all, when we talk about single-use plastics, that means we are dumping these plastic wastes into the environment, but then they are not degradable. So they cannot get degraded, meaning that even when they are dumped on land, they will affect that area where they are dumped, because first of all, they don't allow water to go through them, and also the land cannot breathe well where they are. So this takes a toll on the land. But more focus is on our marine life. What happens when these plastic wastes are dumped into our water bodies? Now, some of the pictures there are showing you places where we look at the chaos caused by this plastic waste. Not only do they actually clog our drainage systems, leading to, of course, a flash flooding in the area, especially when it rains. Even looking at areas like Kampala, when it rains so much, the places that are mostly polluted do see more clogging and drainage issues because of these plastic wastes. But more on what happens when they're dumped into our water bodies is what is devastating and threatening even in today life. Now we look at what are the ambitious approaches that can be taken to make sure we have a circular plastic economy. Now, when these are into the water bodies, first of all, most of those have poisonous chemicals that are associated with them. Now, when these poisons get into water bodies, what happens is they do affect the species, the fish species that are within the water bodies, not just the fish species, but also other aquatic organisms that are in water bodies. And what happens is that we could be looking at even extinction of different species, because not all of the animals can take a little poison and just survive. Most of them die from this poisoning, and it is becoming a great threat. Now, that video coming in from the United Nations Environmental Program, they are trying to highlight, and yesterday they gave out a report, trying to highlight how dangerous and threatening it is, looking at if we continue doing this plastic wastes, dumping plastic wastes into the aquatic life. Now, if we focus on eliminating, first of all, manufacture of single-use plastics, that is a good step. We eliminate the manufacture of this. Looking at countries, even in our neighborhood, Rwanda is a very good example. They have gotten rid of plastics, and which is locally called Kavera. Yes, we have campaigns. You can see from the pictures, people trying to put signs, please, this has been polluted by single-use plastics, just to highlight and show you that this is important to note. Now, you see with plastic, with some of these plastics, they don't go away. Like I said, they are not degradable. So meaning that they will stay and they will require more cleaning. So instead of us investing more money in trying to clean up the mess that we created, how about get rid of the problem altogether? And like I mentioned, our neighbors, Rwanda, is a very good example. They have found a way of eliminating Kavera and banning use of plastics. And they are better in terms of environmental management when it comes to that. So what is stopping us from doing that? I do remember that this conversation came up even to our policymakers and a lot of activists and people planning campaigns on eliminating and getting rid of kavera and other plastic material. But this died off, I think, at a level of just campaigning. But isn't it about high time we revisit this topic, looking at the threats that it is posing? Because pollution is now 3 of the planetary crisis that we are facing today. Meaning that if we look at this keenly, we are not just talking about climate change doing threatening our aquatic life, but even the pollution that 99% is caused by our human activities and more on plastic waste. Highlighting the plastic waste management across marine or aquatic life. Now, from there, we want to take a look at the weather today, and looking from what I can tell you from the satellites, most areas did start off with mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions across the country. Quite a beautiful morning, and we also have a chilly weather across most places. But there was a rainy system that started off early this morning across the islands of Lake Victoria that was bringing us rains across several places within the Lake Victoria Basin, but also across the western part of the country, most especially Midwestern, across Masindi, Fort Portal. That area did start off with mostly cloudy conditions, and we have more in our forecast we shall be going through for different parts of the country. But we see more rains actually forecasted to form up later in the afternoon, but for the morning we have mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions, and most especially the Midwestern part of the country, also across northern Uganda and the Karamoja region. These areas are likely to have more rains develop in the afternoon, although we do expect some of those light rains to form through today in the morning. And now we see that actually the rain system for this time of the year is mostly confined within the central part of Africa. Now, that means that even the zonal part of the Lake Victoria Basin, the zonal part of the rain system is actually covering through Lake Victoria Basin, which is why that area usually has more rains compared to the rest of the country. Now, we will start off with our morning forecast across the western Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Saka, we have Ringo, we have Rakai. We are expecting to start off the day with isolated showers. That means close to 20% of this area will be seeing these showers, but much of the area will remain with actually dry conditions, starting off at a chilly morning, 25 degrees centigrade. Now, western parts of central, that is where we have Mitiana, we have Mubende, Chiboga, we have Chankwanzi. We are forecasting also showers this morning, and most of those will be isolated. Only a few areas within this region will be seeing these rains, and also starting off at a chilly 25 degrees centigrade. Eastern parts of central, that is where we have Nakasongola, we have Nakaseke, Lowlands, Luero. We are expecting to start off the day with isolated light showers. Those will also be over a few areas, not everywhere within this region. We'll be seeing the showers, also starting off at a cold morning with 25 degrees centigrade. Now, looking ahead at what we expect this morning across different areas of the country, much of central will be dealing with those cloudy conditions, and we do expect rains to move through later in the day. But for the eastern Choga region, that is where we have Soroti, we have Katakwi, we have Serere, we have Kumi. We are forecasting isolated showers. Those will be coming through in the morning, but also over a few areas. Most of this area will be seeing intervals of sunny cloudy conditions, starting off at 25 degrees centigrade. Now, the northeastern part of the country, this is the Karamoja region, where we have Kotido, we have Napak, we have Abim, we have Moroto. We are forecasting also isolated showers starting at 24 degrees centigrade, quite moderate winds. This is a cold morning over there at 24 degrees centigrade. We do expect more rains over the Karamoja region later in the afternoon. Now, for Mount Elgon Highlands, this is where we have Mbale. We are forecasting also the start of the day with isolated showers. We have Bududa in that category. We have Buko, we have Kapchora. The temperatures are 20 degrees Celsius. That is really a cold morning over there. And most of the temperatures actually across Mount Elgon Highlands are influenced by the presence of Mount Elgon, meaning it brings in that breezy, cold feel across this region. But we do expect those rains to come through this morning. And also later in the afternoon, do look out for more rains that are forecasted across Mount Elgon Highlands. Now, for eastern lowlands, that is where we have Bokedia, that is where we have Budaka, Palisa, and Utaleja. We are forecasting light rains. Those will be over a few areas, just close to 20% of the forecast region. We'll be seeing these rains, but most of the rest of this region will be seeing mostly cloudy conditions. And also starting off with cold weather at 23 degrees centigrade with moderate winds, quite breezy and chilly feel over there. Now we move ahead to southwestern part of the country, where we have Mbarara, we have Boshenyi, Rubirizi, Shema, Bokweju, and Mitoma. We are forecasting to the start of the day with isolated showers, also with a cold morning. That is at 23 degrees centigrade, quite moderate winds over there. Now it is another morning to actually head out with some jackets, because this will really feel cold, and we do expect temperatures even in the afternoon to remain quite chilly. We might hit maximums of 26 or 27, which might still feel cold. We do expect more rains to develop across the western sector later in the afternoon. Now, West Nile, we are already seeing clouds developing over that area. That is the northwestern parts of Uganda where we have Arua, we have Nebi, we have Yumbe across that region. We are forecasting isolated thunder showers this morning. Also starting off with cold weather at 24 degrees centigrade and also moderate winds. This is also feeling quite chilly, and this area is expected to have these rains continue later, even in the afternoon, and that will be across several places within West Nile. Now, central north, that is where we have Gulu, we have Padel, we have Kitgum. We are forecasting also isolated showers this morning, starting off the day, and we shall see a clearing trend later in the afternoon. Most of these rains will reduce across several places. Temperatures are at 26 degrees centigrade, quite a pleasant morning over there. This is close to what we also had yesterday at 26 degrees centigrade, with also moderate rains forecasted over this region. In northern Choga, we are forecasting isolated showers. That is where we have Lira, we have Amulata, we have Dokolo in this region. We are forecasting isolated showers, and those will be at 26 degrees centigrade, with very light winds forecasted across this region. But also this area is expected to have more rains developing later in the afternoon, but that will also be across several places within the northern Choga. Now that is also taking in areas of Nakasongola and also areas of central. We are forecasting to have more rains develop later in the afternoon. Midwestern Uganda, that is where we have Hoima, we have Masindi. We are already seeing those cloudy systems developing across that area, but we are forecasting isolated thunder showers starting off with a cold morning as well at 24 degrees centigrade, with moderate winds expected. Northern Rwenzori, that is where we have Kabalole, which is where we have Ntoroko, we have Bundibujo in that category. We are forecasting isolated thunder showers. Only 20% of this region will actually be seeing these rains. That is just a few areas at moderate winds. And also for southern Rwenzori, we are forecasting isolated showers. Temperatures quite a bit more than what is expected over northern Rwenzori. That is at 25 degrees centigrade. We do expect more rains across this area also later in the afternoon. Now, Kigezi Highlands, quite a cold start off into the day at 21 degrees centigrade. And this region is actually for 21 is actually normal for them, because this area is known to have to be associated with cold weather, and most of the times it actually even drops to below 20 degrees centigrade. That is all we've had for you in terms of our weather updates and what is happening over our skies this morning. I will leave you with Good Morning Uganda agenda. Robert will be coming up to give you more on that. We also have sports, and later we have Good Morning Uganda Extra with Jagenda Semakula. You can follow the conversation even if you're leaving home, as we're streaming live on YouTube at UBC Television Uganda. My name is Molin Kenyana, wishing you a good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by was brought to you by.
We've cut and reduced our MTN Momo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Senchu points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our Momo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Hallelujah Ginger Tea drink and Hallelujah Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Hallelujah Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Hallelujah from all shops around.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, every day we're so excited, so happy because we know you're watching UBC TV. And allow me begin by reading some of the comments that have come in from our various social media platforms. Please, we thank you so much for your participation, for being part of this show, and keep them coming on any issue that is on this show and you want to have a comment on that. We have Joy Desire. I have a friend who lost her child, but the car found her home in the compound since the Muzigo is almost on the road. Very unfortunate. Joy Desire, we pray for the family and may the good Lord encourage them. Still, Joy Desire, parents have tried such jobs and people only support kids, and besides rape is an accident that can happen anywhere and at any time. She was responding to our story in the newsreel where we talked about child labor. Then still, Joy Desire, but Joy says, Kirabo, thank God that you have a well-paying job even in the lockdown situation, but think about those parents, home and kids that are breadwinners. Still, good morning. That is Joy Desire. And then we have, that is Ankan, who also says good morning. Good morning to you, Ankan, and also Jacob Akambo Paho. That is Jacob Akambaho. Yes, thank you so much for watching this show. And please keep these messages. We love this interaction. We need your feedback. Every weekday we're here to spice up, to inform you, to educate, to set the agenda and the pace, so that despite being in a lockdown, you are a very informed person. Now, welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Today we are going to be discussing enforcement of SOP, that's the standard operating procedures, and the lead agency being police. Now with me in studios, I have this police officer, who is the community liaisons officer, Katwe, a man I hold in high esteem. Reason being, I've sent a number of people to his office, that is community liaison office of Katwe, and he's handled everybody and they leave this office very satisfied. None has ever talked about corruption or a bribe. And I must say this, even at the inception of this show, that there are good police officers in Uganda Police Force, but there's also a rot. And he can also witness to this. Yesterday, I told you where a friend of mine had an accident, and I want to tell you, I saw a police officer being corrupt to the list, even when his life was at the verge of death. But I want to thank you, Afande, for coming in and ensuring that you restore sanity. I also want to thank a police officer called Afande Namaweje, that is Traffic Department at Chibuye. Thank you so much, Afande, for the good work. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Presenter. ASP Nathan Katumba is my name. I'm the Community Liaisons Officer of Katwe Police Division. Glad to be here.
Well, Afande, even before we go into enforcement of these SOPs, because I know still one of the issues that is going to come at the forefront is the issue of corruption. What is happening in Uganda Police Force? That despite efforts you've done, still we are having officers that are taking every opportunity to exploit the vulnerable, the victims, the families craving for justice.
Thank you, Presenter. These are individual acts of a few police officers, but to which we are really trying to fight so hard to say that we fight the vice. We have disciplinary committees that have really worked to help us to see that we bring the vice to at least to reduce the vice, because it it is hard to really sweep out the act. But we are trying so hard to see that we really fight the we really fight the bad habit. As an institution, we condone corruption, and we usually have meetings with our officers, and we tell them that anyone caught in acts of corruption will answer as an individual for his actions. That is what we are doing. So whenever someone suspects or someone is being taken in the line of corruption by our officers, just assist us, just tell us, we shall hand our officer. But if you don't talk and someone gets money from you, then tomorrow you go out in the media, tomorrow you go out and tell other people that the other officer took my money. At the end of the day, it will not sound beneficial to you. You better come out and you see to it that we fight corruption when you've come out and you've helped us to see that we fight the problem.
Talking about coming out, reporting, what is the criteria? Yes, I've seen you intervene. I've seen a couple of senior police officers intervene, but to an ordinary Ugandan who even looks at a police station either next to heaven or hell because of the fear. Some people even just fear entering. So what is the chain? How best can they ensure they bring an officer accountable, maybe who has also started money from them at a roadblock mounted to ensure vehicles that have no stickers or accredited to move really do not pass that roadblock?
Yeah, we usually have officers who are commanding those roadblocks, senior officers who are commanding the roadblocks. When a police officer, a junior police officer, gets money from you, extorts from you, the only thing you're supposed to do, yes, is to look for the senior officer on the what? There are senior officers who are deployed on the checkpoints. If you've not got that senior officer, you can see how to access the DPC at the district. We shall summon that officer and will come. Then we shall see how to handle the problem that you had encountered with the officer. If the issue is about discipline, if the issue is about indiscipline like extortion, we shall handle that. We have police standards unit. If you feel you are not comfortable to come to the division, you can equally go to police standards unit. It is at Bukoto, where civilians go and report police officers who have committed crime on them, who have extorted. So you can equally go to Bukoto and you log a complaint against that police officer. A file will be opened against him and he will be summoned at what? He will be summoned at Bukoto. So let's try to get all solutions to the problem. Don't just keep quiet. Others, I really concur with others who record them. I have no problem with that.
Video, audio evidence.
Yes, if someone has really, he has done corruption tendencies on you, he has extorted your money, he has done what? Yes, assist us, you can even record him. We don't mind, even if you record him and it goes viral. We don't mind, we shall hand our officer. That is already evidence that shows the officer was what? Was corrupted. So that is how we are going to the extreme.
So there's a remedy to the continuous talk of police is corrupt. Give information to the relevant officers. Afande Nathan Katumba is the community liaisons officer, that is Uganda Police Force, and in charge of Katwe Division. And we are looking at enforcement of SOPs amidst COVID-19. Now, Afande, just give us a picture. Since the president came out and declared 42 days, how have these operations gone? Have you really achieved, or is it still a tug of war between civilians and actually the security forces?
When we talk about operations, we've never had easy operations. Usually, when we are enforcing the regulations of any operation, there is a tendency of resistance in security. Despite of whether it is COVID or not COVID, that one we expect there is usually resistance. A human being, usually, it is hard for him to obey the law 100%. Despite of the fact that there are others who obey, but it is very hard for them to obey the law 100%. But what we have done to see to it that we really soften the hearts of individuals and they try to obey the law is to carry out continuous sensitization and telling the public the essence of fighting COVID-19 as an individual. Because the virus does not move. We are the ones who move the what? The virus. If you stay in a place and you make sure that the standard operating procedures are followed, trust me, you will kill the virus. In case someone has brought it to you, it will die because you'll wash your hands and you'll leave it there. You'll put on a mask and you'll not spread it. At the end of the day, you'll get treatment. Because when you put on a mask and you're infected and you begin coughing, you will not give it to another person. So it will remain with you, then you'll get treatment and we shall break the chain. So we have really tried to bring all sorts of mechanisms to see that we soften the operation procedures, like sensitizing the public, like how I'm doing now on TV. I've come out and we are going to sensitize the public on issues of the virus, yes? So people have learned, we go on radios, we move with the megaphones. Yesterday I was at a radio station and I was emphasizing the same, Radio Sapiencia. The other day we are moving with KMPCLO in town, in Nakawa, and we are sensitizing the people on what? On COVID. So in the process of sensitization, it has really helped us.
So there is moving in a positive direction regarding to operations and this fracas and friction.
Exactly, we are moving in a positive direction. Yes.
Talking about these operations, I want to point out a few where we've seen at least police being put on that spot. One is the incident of curfew. This is where we've seen so much people, so much complaints regarding that is excessive force. That is what they term as excessive force. Then also, that is where we've had an element of corruption that you earlier threw some light to. But also another area has been now when it comes to vehicles that are deemed not fit to be on the road, not because they are DMCs or technical complications, but because they have not been accredited as their owners being essential workers, so they are really supposed to be on the road. These two areas, amidst other, some of the areas where we've seen maybe police is not doing what it should be doing, or the public does not understand well why this is coming. Let's begin with curfew.
On enforcement of curfew, we all know that it is police that is supposed to enforce curfew, and this curfew is enforced in the public, and we have mechanisms of enforcing curfew. We usually have roadblocks, at least at each and every sensitive road. There is a roadblock. The curfew involves people and vehicles which are sometimes impounded because of various reasons. We have vehicles that are supposed to be on the road. We have a system from the Ministry of Transport where you insert in the phone and you see which vehicle is supposed to be what. It is very clear the vehicle is supposed to be on the road. There are other vehicles that someone comes and really explains to you. That is why we usually talk to our officers who are on the checkpoints, especially the OCs who usually man those checkpoints. We talk to them to really talk to the officers to have empathy. That in case someone is explaining to you and is telling you that fine, I'm not supposed to be on the road, but I woke up very early, I took a patient to what? To hospital. Try to understand. If you have any evidence of any documentation, please show. So that these officers don't take you like someone who is breaking the law intentionally. Then the issue of people who are moving, like people like people who are moving and like time has like caught them on the road, and they find themselves in the trap of curfew. Sometimes the mechanism we use, like the last curfew, the last lockdown, we used to get them, then put them somewhere and talk to them. Yes? Because we're trying to avoid double infection. That is how we used to do it in Katwe.
I remember you would find many that spent a night there in open.
Yes. But we used to make sure that they are not put in cells because there are many. And they sit in the yard. Then in the morning, we tell them to go home. Yes? In that, you know, it is usually when you punish someone, yes, however small the punishment may be, tomorrow that person will change. But sometimes when you just don't punish and someone just goes away like that, someone will make it a habit the following day to what? The following day to continue moving late in the night. And we are fighting a lot of things when we enforce curfew. We are fighting a lot of things. When curfew is there, it is at this time, no movement. So when you're seen at that time, like if someone is seen late in the night, like at around 2, it will help police to know whether someone is a wrong person or not. Because when we see you at around 3, at around 2, we shall definitely suspect that you are either these people who break houses, yes, or any other person who commits crime, yes. So that is the reason why curfew is there. Those are sometimes the beneficiaries of what? Of curfew. Yes.
Afande rightly said, and we know definitely we must enforce curfew for the reasons you've given. Times are hard, and also for the security aspect of it. We also know we should be having a minimum regulated number of vehicles moving motorcycles at such a time, because they carry people and we shall end up having congestion. But I want to take you through the Kampala metropolitan, more so downtown. We've constantly seen police in running battles with maybe would I call them business people. I remember last week in a single day about 200 were arrested. We even saw tear gas being used. We know these are people that come to win blade, I want to assume. And maybe they believe that maybe even if the shops are closed, or in one way or the other, they'll find something to take back home. And this has been, we can't have almost the 42 days seem to be elapsing, and this is a daily routine of police. What other measures can we ensure that really such images, some lose arms, some are arrested, how best can we solve this issue? Because when you go to divisions like Machindye, other divisions that make Kampala, apart from the central business center, we are not having this fracas daily.
Apparently, we are all much aware that Kampala, the arcades, through the guidance of the president, those arcades were locked. But there are individuals who have refused to take it on that the arcades are what? Are locked. For them, they have a say that I have nothing to do at home, I have to go in town. They have constantly refused to accept that the kids are not what? Are not working. They proceed to town. So whenever they proceed to town, that the first period when they proceeded to town, as the Department of Community Affairs, who were led by the KMP Community Affairs, Kampala Metropolitan, we went to town, moved around, told people, please, you are not doing anything here, go back home. The arcades are locked, you are not doing anything, please go back home. We tried to talk to them for almost 2 to 3 days. So when we realized that the numbers were just increasing, that is when we made our report, and Afande took it to KMP, to our boss who takes the whole Kampala. So that is when they designed an operational order to see that people are stopped from what? From accessing what? Town. We have supermarkets that are in town that are operating, and what we decided to do was to designate some roads, not all, to designate some roads that people can use to access those what? Those supermarkets. So whenever someone will come, will tell you, no, don't pass here. If you are to go to this supermarket, please pass on the other road. Yes? So that is how we used to, that is how we are trying to manage. But it is sometimes it goes beyond.
I was speaking to one of the traders, and they told me there is what they have termed as, or what I'll term as selective enforcement. They were telling me that, Robert, why we come to town is because we know at some point some market is going to be opened under maybe the watch of police, and traders will get commodities, go and sell, tomorrow come back. And they told me that if you remember a scene where I saw a police officer, I think, charging at another police officer, that this is a person who was sent to protect people that are actually getting goods and carrying out business. That police has had this as a challenge. How do we arrive at this kind of selective enforcement? At a point, this arcade can open, people can get out their merchandise, go and sell, maybe in other divisions of Kampala. Then also, what is the rationale? If in Machindye, you have arcades and they are working, in Nakawa you have arcades and they are working, Rubaga there are arcades and they are working, business is as normal, people are mingling and mixing. Then Kampala you're not.
The issue of Kampala was a special issue in regards to information from crime intelligence. Kampala, the level of the people who were accessing Kampala were so many, and there was a lot of commotion.
That is the central, because Kampala has 5 divisions.
I'm talking of the CDBV, the Central Business Point. There was a lot of commotion in the middle of town. That is when the president came out and said no, because of the commotion, because of the many people who go to town, because there are people who buy things. However small something is, he will go to town. Despite of the fact that we have other supermarkets, we have other arcades that are at the outskirts of Kampala. Someone, even something small, he will want to go to what? To town, and you will not stop him. Yes? So because of the commotion that was in town, that is when the president came out and said no, the CDB of town should be closed, and other places were left what? Other places were left open, because other places, the population that access those places it is in a scattered way. It is in a scattered way. But in town, one arcade is here, another one is here, another one is there, another one is facing this side. So people come to access this arcade. These ones come to access this one. These ones come to access this one. At the end of the day, you have commotion. So it will be hard to fight the disease with that what? With that commotion. But these arcades that are at the outskirts of Kampala, it is easy to fight the disease. You'll find one arcade here, another one is there. Then the other ones are retail shops. So it will be easy to what? To emphasize SOPs in what? But in the central business place, it was hard, because those buildings are what? Those buildings are near each other. On the issue of selective criticism in terms
selective
of
enforcement.
Selective enforcement in terms of opening arcades. When the instruction came of closing those arcades, we did not have any other instruction of saying that people should open. Yes? So if it was done, it is done at an individual risk and behavior. At the end of the day, the command was those arcades should be closed until further what? Until the 42 days. Until when the president comes out and says, I've opened them. So if it was an individual effort of saying that they open and people take goods, it was a heart of empathy that maybe that police officer was exhibiting on the what? on the individual. But the command was those arcades should remain closed until further what? Until further notice.
Well, also still regarding enforcement of SOPs amidst the lockdown, Afande, we've had, and we need you to clarify this. Are there stipulated fines? Because when the president last addressed the nation, he said the Secretary of the Treasury was going to design, come up with fines, costs, and all this. What are you charging these people of? You know, what are they just paying fines? What is the criteria? We've seen documents circulating. If it is a border past curfew, 200. If it is a bar, 300. And to the best of my knowledge, I believe this has not yet been cleared. But a person will tell you, a police officer has asked me for 50,000. If I don't pay 50,000, then by law, I'm going to pay maybe about 300,000. So what are you following as you implement these arrests?
On the issue of vehicles, that are not supposed to be on the road, we have the EPS, that is the express penalty, that can be issued to those vehicles that are not what? That are not on the road. We have not arrested individuals and taken them to court. No. What we have done, if maybe we've carried out an operation of vehicles, we give them an express what? Penalty. The issue of the motorcycle, we give them a receipt. It can either be a receipt of 40 or a receipt of 80. Then individuals, we have, because of the issue of fighting the vice, fighting the disease, we really go to an extreme of getting someone and taking him to court. Like if we've tried to enforce, talked to people, like the last incident that we had in Natete.
That is at New Best Hotel.
At New Best Hotel. We really tried to handle these people with a good hand of telling them that, please, these bars are not supposed to open. Yes? But through our intel, we realized that this bar has a padlock in front of the door that shows that it has never opened. Yes? But behind, that is where people used to pass and access what? So you come on the road, you look at the bar, yes, in front it is locked, you even see dust on the road, on the door,
showing there is no entry.
Showing there is no entry. At the end of the day, people are passing behind and doing what? So when we got that intelligence, we made an operation and arrested over 100 people. Over 100 people. And this problem had persisted and it had persisted. So when a problem persists, it is very hard for you to come out and say, no, just move on and go home. You would really want to punish so that people know that what they were doing was wrong. So we took them to court and some were remanded. Yes.
Well, in the interest of time, Fande Nathan Katumba, can you have your final remarks regarding that is the enforcement of standard operating procedures amidst this lockdown?
Thank you so much, presenter. I want to educate the viewers on a little issues concerning COVID. COVID, well, if you handle COVID, if you get the signs, if you get a sign of cough, if you get a sign of irritation at the neck, if you get a sign of joint pains, don't assume that it is the normal malaria of every day. Rush very fast to the hospital, go to Chirudu, they are checking, and it is a free at cost service. Wow. You go there and they check you. So long as you go very early in the morning, they are going to check you. You are going to fight that disease and you're going to get fined. If you delay and you think these are other diseases like maybe malaria or what, the disease is going to grow. By the time you want to treat it, it will already be in the what? In the lungs.
The respiratory system.
So let us please assist. Let us assist ourselves to make sure that we are certain and we shall be on earth for some time by going so fast and checking and taking the medication. I urge out the public out there, yes, whenever the president comes out and he says, this should be done like this, this should be done like this, it becomes the law. I don't want you to look at a policeman as if the police officer is trying as if the police officer is trying to enforce whatever he's trying to enforce, that he has made it up. When it has become the law, the police officer is going to come on the road and is going to enforce what? He's going to enforce the law. So individuals out there, let's try so much to see that we don't commit crime. Yes, I know it is hard to avoid crime, but you fight so hard to see that you are not caught in what? You are not caught in crime. If you have a vehicle and maybe you have a patient, you want to take him to the hospital, RDC is there. You can even go to chairman equally can call RDC, yes? Chairman can call RDC, and at the end of the day you will go smoothly without what? Without disorganizing you. So let's help police so that police helps us in public there.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Afande Nathan Katumba, Community Liaisons Officer, Katwe Police Division. This is my humble appeal to you. Please, if we are to ensure you follow the SOPs, you're doing it for yourself. And I want to emphasize this. You're not doing it for the men and women in uniform. Neither are you doing it for the president. But it is for yourself because it is your life you're saving. This is a do or die. Let's follow the SOPs. So the officers, the gallant men and women in uniform, we know times are hard, but let's so use our sense of judgment that there are incidents that can't be sorted without arrests, without clashes and violence. Let's have a sense of judgment. Sometimes people just have to explain to you for you to understand that yes, they have a patient, maybe they are rushing to the next area to get clearance. So let's also have that sense of judgment.